this is Carla and welcome back to the studio, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So for this episode, I will be featuring the Berry Blessings bundle. This is a photopolymer set. It was also a celebration offering a couple of years ago. Now, bundled with this stamp set was also what's this paper called? The Berry Delightful Designer Series paper. This paper is just like fun. It's got a lot of the berries and the fruits in it and a lot of bright colors. The colors in here are Balmy Blue, Blackberry Bliss, Calypso Coral, Cherry Cobbler, Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, Garden Green, Granny Apple Green, Night of Navy, Pacific Point, Poppy Parade, Rich Razzleberry, Shaded Spruce, and Whisper White or Basic White. So these two items were bundled together in celebration. So I will be using some of this paper in both of our projects. So to get started, I have a piece of Basic White Thick. This measures 8.5 by 5.5 and is scored at 4.25. I have a piece of Poppy Parade. This measures 5.25 by 4. A piece of that Very Delightful DSP. This measures 4.5 by 2.75. And then I have another piece that measures 4 by 2.25. And then I have a piece of Basic White that measures 2.5 by 2.25. And then I have another piece of Basic White, and this is just a scrap. So I'm going to start off with folding and burnishing my card base. And I will set this aside. For this piece of Poppy Parade, I will be embossing it, and I will be using the Gingham embossing folder. This is a regular folder, not a 3D. So I'm going to set this aside because all die cutting and embossing will be done at the same time. So for these two pieces of the DSP, I'm going to set those aside because that will go on this layer here. And then on this bigger piece here, I will be doing my stamping, and I will actually do all the die cutting and all that first. And then for this piece, this scrap piece of Basic White, I'll also be die cutting that piece using the Stylish Shapes dies. These are currently in our annual catalog. And I will be die cutting it with this circle right here. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss and die cut, and I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in my pieces. So I'm going to take my embossed piece and I'm going to adhere that to my card base. And I'm going to center that. Like so. Okay, and then I'm going to take my larger piece of DSP and I'm going to, whoa, wants to take off on me. Okay, and I'm going to adhere this over to the right side of my embossed piece. And I'm going to center it from top to bottom. And I'm just going to leave a little bit here on the right hand side. And then I'm going to take the other piece, add some glue to the back of this. This is the pattern that's on the other side of this berry pattern. And then I'm going to add this piece, kind of center it and off to the left, like so. Okay, we'll set that aside. And then let me close this really quick. And then I'm going to bring in my stamps. So I got the larger leaves for my raspberry. I got the stems. I got the greeting that says bountiful blessings. And then I have my raspberries. So the colors of ink I'm using are Granny Apple Green, Poppy Parade, and Shaded Spruce. So for my Granny Apple Green, I'm going to stamp my greeting on this circle. Make sure that I ink this up well. And I'm going to stamp that right in the center. Okay, and I'll set that aside. And then I'm going to bring in this piece right here and my shaded spruce. And let's see, I'm going to take my more detailed leaf and I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this right here. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in the outline of the stem here, the top of the berry, and I just want to add ink to that top. I'm not looking to ink up this whole stem. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp that right there. And then I'm going to bring back in my Granny Apple Green. And I'm going to bring in the filler piece to that. And I'm going to fill in the leaf. And try not to rock my block because I do have ink on this edge here. And then I'm going to bring in this filler. Now again, I'm not going to ink up the stem. I just have a little bit on there, but that's okay. And then this, I'm going to center that into that outline like so. And then I'm going to bring in my Poppy Parade. And I'm going to stamp this more detailed piece. Right there. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in a piece of scratch paper. And the filler piece for this, I'm going to ink this up in the Poppy Parade as well. And I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to fill in my raspberry. Okay, so we're done with the stamping. Let me bring my card in. I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to add some adhesive to it, and I'm going to place this right about here. Okay, we're done with the glue. And now I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to add a couple on the back of my grating. And I'm going to add that right over here. And then I'm going to bring in my rhinestone basic jewels and my take your pick tool, and I'm going to add a few to my card. Add one like up here, and then one more right over here. Okay, so this is our first card. On to our second. Okay, so for my second card, I have a piece of Night and Navy. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Pacific Point. This measures 5 1/4 by 4. I have a piece of that Very Delightful DSP. This measures 3.5 by 2. And then on the opposite side, I have another piece that measures 4 by 1 1/4. And then I have a scrap of basic white. So I'm going to start off with folding and burnishing my card base. And I'll set that aside. So for my piece of Pacific Point, I'm going to bring in another embossing folder for this. So this is the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. So this, I'm going to emboss with this, and again, just like I did earlier, I will do all my embossing and die cutting at the same time, so I'll set that aside. So my two pieces of DSP, that too I will set aside because those layers are going to go on top of that. And then on this piece of basic white, I'll be using another one of those dies from the Stylish Shapes set of dies. I'll be using this larger circle. So I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to set this aside. We'll do our stamping on this after I die cut it. So I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in my pieces. So I'm going to do the same as I did on that other card. I'm going to take my embossed piece and I'm going to adhere that to my Night and Navy card base. And center that. This is one of those embossing folders that it has a nice subtle design on it. I was kind of sad when they retired that. It was a really good one. Okay, and then I'm going to take my DSP pieces. I'm going to take this more narrow strip and I'm going to adhere that about here. Okay. And then I'm going to take this piece and let's see, how do I want to put I'm going to put this way so I could see more of the blueberries in it. I'm going to adhere this down right here. Okay, let me close up my glue. We're done with that. Okay, so then on this piece, let me bring in my scratch paper again. And for this card, the colors that I will be using are Garden Green, Granny Apple Green, Night of Navy, and Pacific Point. So I'm going to start off with my Garden Green. And I'm going to bring in the outline of these leaves. I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this. Let's see. Right over here. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in the filler piece. And I'm going to ink that up in the Garden Green as well. And I will stamp that off. And then I will fill it in. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my Night of Navy and the outline piece of the blueberries. And ink that up. And I'm going to line up the two bases here of these larger blueberries to these ends of the stem. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my Pacific Point ink. And I'm going to bring in the filler piece. Ink that up. And I'll stamp that off. And then just line this up and stamp within the outline. So, okay. And then I'm going to bring in the greeting that says just for you. Now, this stamp is not part of the Berry Blessings. It is part of the Sweet Strawberry stamp set. Now, this stamp set was in the current mini catalog at the time that the Berry Blessings and the paper were in the celebration brochure. And so these do coordinate along with the whole Berry Blessing bundle. As a matter of fact, on this stamp set, there's a coordinating strawberry builder punch, and the punch does punch out some of the strawberry images that are in that paper. So in this set, I'm going to use the Just For You greeting from it. So for this one, now I'm going to get rid of my scratch paper. So on this, I want to put my greeting right in this spot here, and I'm going to do that in my Granny Apple Green. I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp that right there. I think I need to re-ink my Granny Apple Green. Okay, so the stamping's done. Now let me bring in my dimensionals. And I'm going to add 4 on the back of this. Okay, and then I'm going to add this right here. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my rhinestones again, and I'm going to add a few to this card as well. I really like the sparkle of our rhinestones on our cards. And I'll add another one right up here. Okay, so that is our second card. Let me move this out of the way. And let me bring in the first card that we made. So for my first card, I created this one using the Poppy Parade and created the raspberry. And then for my second one, we went with the blues and did blueberries. So if you had liked these projects, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in not only building my channel, but also in growing my Stampin' Up! Business. So until next time, y'all have a blessed one. Bye-bye.